Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com. Apply.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions Podcast Network.
Welcome to Rankin' on Bass, an offhanded joke that became a short-lived podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me is the snow miser, Mr. Chris Dashew.
I prefer to go by Baba the Camel, or Baba the Lamb, thank you.
Also along for the ride is the heat miser, Mr. Richard Haddam.
I'll be Joshua the Camel.
I thought, Richard, you were going to be our friend whose family is from the Middle Eastern part of this world, and he will be telling us how terribly this film is representative of his people.
Oh, we'll get there.
I'm totally cool with how this special treats Arabs. But I do want to say this. I just want to say one thing. Go to him. Look upon the newborn king. That's all.
Oh, man.
On the podcast, we are discussing the works of Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, specifically some of their stop-motion and animated Christmas work. On this episode, we are talking about The Birth of Christ with 3 specials: 1968's The Little Drummer Boy, 1976's Little Drummer Boy Book 2, and 1977's Nestor, The Christmas Donkey. And yeah, if you have problems with the way that Arabic people are presented in mainstream media, you're going to have a big problem with these. But I just have a problem with these overall. My goodness.
I was going to say, they all other than Nestor, which is essentially, and you put it in our notes, like it's like essentially dumbed down Rudolph, which it really is just Rudolph, but Jesus and Rudolph as opposed to Santa and Rudolph.
Nestor, with your ears so long, won't you help me sing my song?
Nestor, with your ears so bright, guide me through this dark and stormy night. Like, oh, fucking. These are all tonally the same, and even if they didn't have anything to do with the nativity and the birth of Jesus, the actual spiritual version of Christmas, they would still be perfectly kind of lumped together as a three kind of spiritual. I mean, one is an actual sequel, but kind of spiritual successors to one another as well.
Well, yeah, these movies take on the other Christmas aesthetic that is not characterized by, New England, Currier and Ives, pine trees and snow and warm fires in the hearth and Santa Claus. This is the polar opposite aesthetic of Christmas: desert, sand, animals wandering through the desert. Lack of warmth. These two aesthetics could not be further apart, yet somehow Christmas embraces them both, and you can just switch back and forth based on how you're feeling at any given moment. And then Nestor tries to really bridge them, and I'm not sure any donkey's ears are long enough to do that.
Oh, The Little Drummer Boy. Let me just put this out there. Little Drummer Boy, one of my least favorite Christmas songs in the world. Like, just that bum-bum-bum thing. It's up there with 12 Days of Christmas as far as just being grating. It's like, okay, you can get the 5 golden rings, but I really don't need to hear anything past that. This song is long enough. It's like 99 bottles of beer on the wall, but for Christmas. And the Little Drummer Boy, he gets his drum, but he never fucking uses it. And, okay, good. Great. You would think that would have something there. Like, yeah, he plays the drum for Jesus. Jesus, little baby Jesus. He's happy.
He uses the drum. He plays the drum for Jesus.
That's where the pa-rum-pum-pum-pum comes from.
There it goes. And then that's it.
I do. So I was when I was watching it, I was talking to my wife, who suffers through many of these things with me by listening to my commentary, not actually watching them with. I commented at the end of The Little Drummer Boy how funny I found it that the story of The Little Drummer Boy, the story of the song, not the story of the song written by Catherine Kennicott Davis, the story of what the song is about is a poor boy comes with the 3 kings to the nativity and says, yo, Jesus, I ain't got shit for you. Let me pull out my drum and start playing it. And a baby smiles at him and he goes, I did a good job. It's like, what fucking universe is this? Like, oh, it's a song about how I don't have anything to give you other than my musical talents, which are terrible. Great.
Well, now, okay, whoa. We don't know his musical talents are terrible.
Yes, because the Little Drummer Boy song that he sings is terrible.
Okay, but look at it this way. Someone wrote that song. They wrote the song because they're like, okay, look, we got this story of Jesus getting born in the manger. So far, so good. Very humble beginnings. We're all feeling good and warm and gooey about that. But then these 3 kings come along and they're throwing down gold and frankincense and myrrh, which are considered rare herbs and spices. And now it's looking like Jesus is practically a tax collector. We got to broaden this out a little bit. We got to prove through this song that other people came with other gifts that were not just bags of cash, and they were welcomed even more because Jesus, he doesn't really care about the money and the riches. If you give a gift from the heart, he's cool with that too. And frankly, the kid's a baby. What's he going to do with gold? He probably would have just preferred to get a big wheel.
And to be fair, it doesn't have the ring to Little Butcher Boy when Aaron comes and murders his animals that he brings with him and hands the meat to Jesus. That doesn't have the same ring to it. I mean, Baba the Lamb doesn't survive Little Butcher Boy, but in Little Drummer Boy, he does. So, doesn't have the same ring to it.
We have to talk about Aaron, the little drummer boy, who is just the most misanthropic character I've seen since Harlan Ellison. He hates everyone and everything. He only surrounds himself with animals. He's got, his camel, his donkey, and his sheep just staying with him all the time. And that's it. He's just like, he constantly, and he's really such a one-note character where he's just like, I hate people. And then 5 minutes later, I hate people. It's like, okay, kid, I got you the first time. But no wonder he hates people when you have people like Jose Ferrer, who's trying to kidnap him and put him in a circus, and then this weird little Arab dude that hangs out with him that keeps breaking stuff. It's just like, this is a strange story.
I mean,
Very
the little drummer boy knew that he was dealing with the emperor of the known universe. So, he wasn't too happy with Ben Haramid.
Oh, man.
I know, Mike.
Like I said,
I know.
Like I said, it is just Ben Haramid, the Jose Ferrer character, is just evil all the way through. Nothing good about him, and just paints Arabic people in such a bad light.
And his character looks what many believe a stereotypical Arab person looks like. It is like, it's hilariously stereotypical. And I'm not saying like funny. I'm saying like the fact that it is as stereotypical as you would assume it to be is hilarious, right? Like, it's ridiculously stereotypical.
But he is portrayed as a shrewd businessman, even though he is depraved and completely consumed with greed. Frankly, I can't really complain with any of those characterizations. As a Lebanese, I'm going to have to back that up. I don't know if you met my family, but boy, they really kind of nailed it.
Jeez.
Jesus Christ, Richard.
I thought that was just Jews.
Richard, as your friend, I didn't realize how self-loathing of a Middle Easterner you.
Look, I'm self-loathing for so many reasons. Being Middle Eastern is way down on the list. We're talking page 4.
Oh, that's fair. I will say though, like the other thing that really stands out here, right? Talking about the other ones, and obviously we're talking about them so close to one another that it's impossible not to compare them, but the music in this is atrocious. The puppets, the animagic is atrocious, and it's not the quality of the rip that we found, but the quality of this rip is nowhere near as good as any of the other ones, which is perfectly fine. And you know why that is? Because this isn't that interesting of a story. This isn't the story that I don't know how many people gravitate towards Little Drummer Boy. I mean, it doesn't have that je ne sais quoi that fucking Christmas does when we're talking about A Year Without Santa or Santa Claus is Coming to Town or even Rudolph. I mean, it doesn't have that. And like you said, Richard, it's approaching the more historical Christmas season, but
right,
it doesn't work that well because it's just those stories are fine when they're contained to semi-historical texts, not children's cartoons, ostensibly children's cartoons.
Right. It's so far removed from the world that we live in 1966 or 68 when this comes out. Definitely in 2020. I mean, it's like, these are ancient times. These are ancient people. We are so far removed from this, and they're not necessarily telling us universal truths of, you might feel like a misfit. So, find other misfits and create your own thing, and maybe they'll figure out that they were wrong someday, or any of these other things that we've seen throughout these other Rankin Bass specials. This is just, this kid hates everybody, and he really is never given a good reason to like anyone by the end of the thing. He just keeps getting fucked over, and then he meets baby Jesus.
Well, what? Okay. Well, I'm gonna defend this, although I'm not defending it as a kid this was my favorite, because as a kid this was a problematic special. This one brought up feelings that were uncomfortable, because it wasn't about the joy of Christmas in terms of the joy of bright, funny characters and getting presents and Santa Claus and ultimately getting material stuff. This was uncomfortable because it dealt with a character who was introduced to someone who hates all people. And you're like, what? I don't get it. Then you realize, he hates people because his parents were murdered. And when you're 8 years old, 7 years old watching this, you're like, what? So this kid's, and you can't escape thinking about your own parents being murdered. And it's like, oh, and they're just running right at it. They're like, his parents got murdered, and therefore he hates everyone. And you're like, yeah, I get that. Okay, whoa, shit, all right. Well, now I can't even argue that. He loves his animals, and as a kid, you love pets, and you're like, God, okay, I get this kid. I mean, I don't really want to hang out with him, but I get it. And again, it takes a while, and it took me into my adulthood and into my writerhood to go, okay, I see what they're doing here. I get what they're doing here. They're creating, as we talked about before, they're creating a character who is a archetypal Christmas story character, a misanthrope, and he will experience a transformation. But it's not Scrooge who became a misanthrope through modern problems. That's what Dickens was writing about. Modern times and how modern times can make a modern man into someone who hates his fellow man. Because in A Christmas Carol, he doesn't really give us, like, there were no great injuries visited upon Scrooge other than life and just the grinding down of one's soul that leaves you as an older person just saying, you know what, fuck all these people. And believe me, the three of us and a lot of people listening to this can definitely feel that way when Christmas rolls around. The Grinch was just some weird, fucked out, weird creature. I don't even know why he hated those little Who's down in Whoville.
But he hated them a lot.
Oh my God, he hated them. I mean, he had a fucking stick up his ass about those people. But now we've got this little kid, and the little kid is the misanthrope, and he's a misanthrope because the worst thing that can happen to a child has happened to him. His parents have been murdered. So really, Romeo Muller did one smart thing. He's like, if this kid meets Jesus Christ, he's got to meet him with a Jesus Christ-shaped problem on his hands. And that is, my heart has been ripped out of my chest and stepped on. And the only thing I've got going for me now are these little animals. And now I'm going to kill one of those. Man, it's tough. You watch this and you're like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. And then when he finally shows up, it's like, oh, but through this interaction with literally the cornerstone of the Judeo-Christian religion that's been around for 2,000 years, his heart is actually saved. The little drummer boy goes, hey, you know what? I come to you with my dying lamb, if you get the imagery. And now, what can you do? And the lamb delivers to the other lamb a little bit of eternal life, and somehow you deduce that the death of his parents doesn't hurt him as much.
You know, you just did a better job explaining it than the movie did.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you write movies for a living?
When you go to film school, it's beaten into you. Now, I'm not saying that this pulls it off on the stage, but I can at least understand what Romeo Muller's trying to do on the page.
I think for me, it just boils down to the character of Aaron, the little drummer boy, is just not it. When you paint the character in, like you've mentioned, when you paint the character into a corner immediately by giving him, he's a misanthrope, he's a pariah, he stays away from everybody because his family dies, you're automatically putting that character into a box as opposed to letting the character show you that's the way the character is. I would rather they showed us that than tell us that. And the telling versus the showing is more than likely a product of 25-minute runtime. And I'm not,
that's true.
I'm not advocating for an hour because I would have lost my mind watching this for an hour, compared to Rudolph or Santa, the other specials, because this one's time limit suits it perfectly. But it's just, the issue is similar to what you just mentioned, Richard. Like the story, I don't think the story can't be successful because it's set up for failure right off the bat.
Yeah, and because it's dealing directly with this notion of Jesus and it's serious. It's with the lighthearted moments that they try to go for. Why can't the animals smile? Those are the ones that feel out of place because it's like the story is very serious, and so if it can't go to a joyful place, it can only go to sort of a reverent, what Jesus is actually the real deal place. That's a reverent place, and you're only going to get. You're going to get a feeling of, sadness and sympathy and empathy, but you're not going to get a feeling of, yay, it's Christmas.
Definitely not.
And that for me is kind of the weird spot that this is at, right? Because the other things that we've seen outside of Rudolph's Shiny New Year really does instill within you the spirit of the season. I mean, shit. I mean, we're recording these long before Christmas, just to give you a little taste of the, of the sausage filling before we stick it in the casing. We recorded these long before Christmas. We frankly, I was watching these, I'm sure as y'all were, what would have technically been the Christmas or the Halloween season. But like, all the other ones up until this really did kind of start, and I don't really get into the Christmas spirit too much, because Christmas is not my favorite holiday as much as Halloween is, but it put me in that spirit those other ones did, and this one was just kind of a drag.
It's a drag, it's a downer, it's like something that they would probably try to show you in Sunday school. This is more along the lines of Davy and Goliath than a Gumby. Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, it is, and it's earnest, and it is trying to do something, but it's an uncomfortable journey, and once we get there, it feels pretty good. Now, what's interesting is that is it Greer Garson who's doing the narration, and it feels almost totally. It feels very biblical, and the show itself starts. It feels like it's starting in the middle. Like you feel like you missed something. She just starts with, and they were all making their way to pay their taxes. And you're like, wait, what? Who are they? What's happening? Where am I?
Right.
What?
I was confused by it being a flashback to his parents being killed. I was just like, because we had just started the narrative and then boom, all of a sudden it's his parents. And it's like, okay, did he just go home? Like, what's going on? It took me a minute to realize, oh, this is a flashback. And then when they come back to it, it's just like, okay, that was a quick flashback just to basically show us him getting the drum and seeing the parents killed. It was just so strange.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I too am glad this was a short one because it's hard to separate this from the feelings I had for it when I was a child. But the fact that it was a half an hour meant that it was aired as part of an hour block with another half-hour special that inevitably was Charlie Brown or The Grinch or Frosty or something a little more lighthearted, so you could sort of pull yourself back out of this grim depression before you went to bed.
So 8 years after they made that, they made a sequel, which I don't know if I ever saw this sequel. And I have to say, we talked a little bit about the anti-Arab sentiment of the first one. This one is coming out, Little Drummer Boy Book 2, very creative name, is coming out in 1976, and it's sponsored by the American Gas Association. Now, that is not gasoline, that's natural gas. You have to remember, 76, we are getting into the energy crisis. We are getting into the time when OPEC is controlling gasoline prices. I'm smelling that they're probably really trying to cast Arab people in a worse light in this one than they were in the first one, because at this point in American history, we are very anti-Arab. How dare they try to chokehold us with the gasoline prices and create this, horrible situation where we have to wait in line for gas and gas is going through the roof and all this kind of stuff. I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy theorist, but it just feels like they had an agenda when it came to Little Drummer Boy Book 2.
And not a decade later, you would see Dow Chemical doing something very similar with Transylvania 65000.
True.
It's what's weird is we just talked about that on my podcast, and this is not an intentional cross promotion. It's just mentioning a fact. It's weird that this is the second time within a year we've seen something so blatant. as a big company that has a trade organization that has a shifty track record, getting involved in trying to show that they're not terrible, even though they more than likely are.
But is it just me, or did this feel like it had way fewer Arabic characters? Like it's got the Roman centurion.
It was more
kind of
Roman.
Guy. But yeah, and then like the bell maker and that one king didn't feel particularly even Mediterranean. The way the characters were designed, they all sort of seemed like they weren't. I mean, am I out of my mind?
You're not. And it is strange that they are. So Aaron teams up with Melchior, who, if you haven't gone to Sunday school recently, is one of the Magi. I'm trying to remember where Melchior was from, but they are mostly associated with farther to the east than Bethlehem. And he teams up with Melchior to go see this guy Simeon, who has created these very large silver bells. And I kept thinking for sure through this entire thing that we were going to get silver bells.
Right?
they missed that opportunity.
Right here. Like, who missed this who missed this? It wasn't us. Right. Don't make us do your job for you.
And yeah, it is very much this idea of the taxation of the Romans and this idea of the Roman Empire and how they need to make money so that they continue to build and make the empire great. Got to pay for the road somehow.
Just to jump backwards for a second, the song "Silver Bells" is that was from the Lemon Drop Kid, which is a not very well known Bob Hope movie, which is also a Christmas movie, but doesn't get included in the rotations a lot. But it's very centered on Christmas. And Bing Crosby was actually pissed because Silver Bells was written and Bob Hope sang it, and it became an unexpected hit. It was very much about what Christmas is like in a modern city. It's Christmas time in the city.
Yeah.
And it became a hit out of nowhere. And Bing Crosby was like, I can't fucking believe that Bob Hope went out and got his own Christmas song that's a hit. But that's where Silver Bells is from. I too was struck with, now wait a second.
Silver Bells was actually performed by someone else before Bob Hope.
You guys keep saying that Bob Hope performed it. I don't think I've ever heard him perform it. I think I've heard it more by Bing Crosby.
You know who you've never probably heard perform it was the first person who did perform it, and that was motherfucking William Frawley. Fred fucking Mertz from I Love Lucy.
Wow.
That's a deep cut right there.
Wow.
Well, no, hold on, guys. Wait, pause. William Frawley is co-stars in The Lemon Drop Kid with Bob Hope.
Yep.
So he may be credited with singing a lyric from it, but when that movie came out, that was a new Christmas song, and it was sung in the movie by Bob Hope and his female co-star, whose name escapes me, but I could look it up really quickly.
Marilyn Maxwell.
There you go. And if you haven't seen The Lemon Drop Kid, and if you like Bob Hope comedies at all, and if you like Damon Runyon at all, it is absolutely worth seeing. It's a real treat.
I have mostly, I am not a Bob Hope fan, mostly because of those specials. They just always seem to interrupt whatever TV show I wanted to be watching when he would do his holiday specials. But I finally saw him in, and it's not The Lemon Drop Kid because that's the one we're talking about. I finally saw him in, I think, My Favorite Brunette. I think that's the one, if memory serves, with him and Peter Lorre is in it. And I think it's a public domain film right now, and it is fucking fantastic. I never thought I would really get into a Bob Hope film, but it was great. And after that, now you're telling me, Lemon Drop Kid is a good movie. I will watch that because I was just so impressed by how much I liked My Favorite Brunette.
Yeah. Definitely check it out. It's sort of based either upon a Damon Runyon story, but it's definitely in that world of, guys and dolls and calling women dolls and stuff. But it's a great vehicle for Bob Hope's sense of humor and he's also playing a classic Bob Hope character, which is a guy who's up to his eyebrows in trouble and spends the entire movie, running here and there and trying to scheme and ruse his way out of the trouble he's in with the mob, set against a very, urban Christmas story, in the middle of New York City. So it's really fun. I think you'll like it. I'd love to hear what you think.
I'm curious because we're kind of a little bit on the topic of this, and this is something that I've been curious because we are talking about Christmas, and we're talking now about a song that was turned into a film, and we've kind of talked about that with Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I'm curious for y'all, because essentially, I think the three of us have agreed, Little Drummer Boy, not the best Christmas song. For y'all, what is kind of the definitive Christmas carol for y'all? Because my answer is very easy. I know it's always the same, but I'm curious, Richard, Mike, where do you guys, completely off topic, but still kind of on topic enough at least?
I really, as far as something with lyrics, like I love Sleigh Bells, really like that one. But as far as something with lyrics, I like Good King Wenceslas.
What about you, Richard?
That's a great one. And I've got two that I really like that are sort of separate. I do really, really like the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. I really do like that. And yet, on the other hand, in the other camp of Christmas music, I like now I want to call it Comfort and Joy, but it's not Comfort and Joy. It's God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because that one has, I don't know, there's just something very sort of magical yet almost kind of creepy about that song that I really like. So that one is like a favorite Christmas carol, and then the other one is the Christmas song. So those are mine. I'll go on the record saying that I am a guy who likes Christmas music and likes Christmas carols, and I'm perfectly happy to start the day after Halloween, and I don't get sick of them. So there you go.
I like Christmas music in as much as it's like the weirder stuff, like the less, not like less well known, but like the kind of kitschier novelty stuff. But there's something about those first couple bars of the Christmas song that like hit me deep down, like way deep down. You know, and you clearly get it, Richard, and I'm sure you do as well, Mike. Like there's something about that da-na-na, like it just. It's like a sledgehammer to the chest. The first couple times I hear it, the fifth fucking time,
Like this?
I hate you.
Is that your favorite, Chris?
Not that. Too much novelty. Oh, God. Yeah, no, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is not a good song. It is a piece of garbage.
What about Christmas Rappin' by the Waitresses?
That's a great song.
What about Christmas in Hollis?
That's a great song as well.
What about Backdoor Santa?
Never heard that one. Is that Clarence Clemens?
I think it's Clarence Carter, actually.
Okay, good.
They call me Backdoor Santa. I make my runs about the break of day, I believe is how the song goes. I just remember it from the Christmas classic, Jingle All the Way. So, but back to Little Drummer Boy. The second one is even less of a thing than the first one.
Yeah, there's just no there.
There's nothing.
It's like, okay, here's these bells. We're going to melt down the bells. We're going to steal the bells, get them away from these Romans. And it's just...
And then they don't play silver bells.
If you boil it down, no pun intended, to its ultimate story, it's all about, well, we've got to save these bells because the bells will be the thing that announces to the world that Jesus has been born and that this the prophecy fulfilled or the promise fulfilled of eternal life. So what we're supposed to care about ultimately throughout this entire half hour is, will everyone hear these bells and therefore know about Jesus? But there's no stakes there because you already know that everyone's going to hear about it anyway. And the bells are relatively immaterial. So now we're left to care about Simeon and the fact that he spent a lot of his life building these bells, and will he get them back from these Roman centurions who stole them? and it really does become difficult to care, difficult to even keep your mind on what it is you're supposed to be hoping for. There's no real protagonist. And the antagonists are negligible to a certain extent. It's a retread of a movie that wasn't that great.
They do have a really good song, though, Richard.
Well, they do. They have that one, but they don't even play it enough.
I think that song is hilarious because it rings so true in 2020 America. It's like, no, we don't get to trade anymore. You want this? Give me money. Fuck you. Give me money. It's like, I mean, it's pretty on the nose.
But also, what's the point of the song? It's like, okay, we used to trade. Now there's money. It's all the same thing. You can be greedy in a bartering situation in the same way you can be greedy in a money situation. It wasn't like everything was great before money was invented. There were still people who had 10 cows and you did not have 10 cows, and you better come up with something to trade with them or you're not going to get a cow.
Yeah.
But at least it's a memorable song compared to everything in the first one.
Let's move on to Nestor the Christmas Donkey, and why this is getting lumped in with Little Drummer Boy is because this is also dealing with the birth of Christ. So we've got Roman soldiers as the bad guys. We're being narrated here. We're back to a narrator that we see, because Greer Garson is just the narrator. There's no physical embodiment of Greer Garson in the Little Drummer Boy story, but here we're narrating by Steel Toe, a donkey who is played by Roger Miller.
Wait, I thought it was Spiel Toe.
No, I think it's Steel Toe.
No, but if we're looking at the same Wikipedia page, look down in the cast. It says Roger Miller as Spiel Toe. Because I couldn't understand what the fuck he said his name was. It's something Toe. So I thought it was Spiel Toe, but it makes no sense either way.
Spiel, like you're, giving a spiel, I guess.
I mean, sure. I mean, if we're doing their work for them.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Herbie versus Hermie.
Exactly.
I swear they called him Herbie the first time, and then they switched to Hermie. And I've never heard of a person being named Hermie other than, the Greek god, I suppose.
I wish we had more of Roger Miller, right? Like, he's so fucking good.
He's really good in this. And yeah, it's just so not his story. And it's just this whole like, hey, I'm a donkey. I work for Santa. You've never seen us here before, but who do you think actually does the fucking work? You think those reindeer do shit around here? No, they just sit around playing their reindeer games, doing all this horse shit. I'm the one who pulls the sleigh in the summertime. I take the Christmas tree back and forth, all this kind of shit.
You know when those reindeer shit? That's me picking it up. I pick up
there
reindeer
with the shovel.
Shit.
Yeah. And yeah, this whole thing of there's a donkey that's born with unnaturally long ears, again with the ears, fucking baby New Year, again with these ears. And yeah, it's watered down Rudolph. And the only interesting part about it to me is Tilly, the cherub that he meets, who's voiced by Brenda Vaccaro. And man, this is like a fucking Disney movie, because his mother escapes from this. He gets kicked out of a stable by Paul Frees's character, this really horrible kind of ogre-looking dude, the Olaf, the stable owner. And his mother follows him. And then she fucking freezes to death. It's one of the saddest moments.
Her life for Nestor.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. Nestor wakes up the next morning under the frozen corpse of his mother.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. Cartoon.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah. It's brutal. Because I was like, okay, she's protecting him from the cold. And then the narrator was like, no, she is dead. Like, what the fuck? Like, guys.
Well, they did. It's Romeo Muller, once again, is the writer, and he's sort of just kind of stealing from himself. He's borrowing liberally from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all of those themes. And then also from Little Drummer Boy, he's taking, well, you know what? If the donkey is ultimately going to help facilitate the birth of Christ, we're going to give him, the same issue that Little Drummer Boy had. We're going to kill his parent and then let an angelic being, in this case a cherub, because angels are for people, so cherubs are for animals. And this cherubim is going to lead him to Jesus, who is the symbol of everlasting life, and hopefully that will fill the hole of the dead parent for the donkey, and then it can go back and get celebrated a la Rudolph by the people who used to mock him. How they know what he did and why they're excited about it, I don't know, but we assume the news got around.
Did you say a la Rudolph or a la Rudolph?
I was saying Allah, A-L-A, as in Rudolph, not Allah.
I thought we're still on our little drummer boy kick here.
Yeah, no, I do not consider Rudolph is not Allah.
Right.
I will say that.
Right.
Richard Haddam has to come out and tell everyone that Allah is not Rudolph in his mind.
In my mind, I got to be really clear. I want everyone to understand this. He is not Allah.
These ears, I have to say, I laughed out loud when I saw him skiing on his own ears. I kind of wish that I had seen what do they call those guys? Not Mystery Science Theater. They're the ones that came after them. Riff Tracks, because apparently Riff Tracks did a version of this. I would have liked to have seen, because there's a lot of stuff other than the mother dying that is great for comedy here. Possibly the mother dying.
I mean, it's fucked up in a hilarious way that they don't address it, really. They're just like, she's dead. She's dead, okay. Long-eared dickhead donkey's walking around on his own.
Yeah, and then he gets somehow sold to Mary and Joseph, and there's a sandstorm, and because he has long ears, apparently he can hear better than other people, and he follows the voice of the angels so that they can go to Bethlehem and go into there's no room at the inn, so they go to the barn, because he knows that barns are pretty comfortable, and then baby Jesus is born.
But Mary gets wrapped in the ears of Nestor.
Yeah.
Cool. First off, all admission, I was baptized. I am not a follower or a believer in the word of the Lord, so I do not know if the donkey that Joseph and Mary rode on actually has a name. So, per the Bible, if I'm incorrect, you can take me out back and stone me, since that's what your text says you should do. But I don't know if the donkey that transported Joseph and Mary had a name. But I can tell you that in every picture I've ever seen of that moment, it doesn't have long ears. So thanks, Gene Autry, for coming up with this song.
Yeah, this is a character wedged into the manger scene, gracefully.
Yes, wedged sideways.
Yeah.
Forced in there, and then they just painted over it and said, "Look, the long-eared donkey is here. You don't know enough about this to be wrong, anyways."
I'm sure that there are stories about every animal that is in the creche. You can go through every single one and be like, oh, and here's the camel, and this is Samson the camel, and blah blah blah. It's like,
the real question is, where was the little drummer boy during all of this? Because we don't see him in this special, and not seeing Nestor in his special is fine, because this came before the little drummer boy came. Actually, Little Drummer Boy came before Nestor, yeah. So Nestor should have been in, or Little Drummer Boy should have been in the Nestor special, theoretically.
Right. Well, that's when they come out with the special editions, and they re-voice, they get the guy who voiced Boba Fett to voice the Little Drummer Boy.
The RBCU, Rankin and Bass Cinematic Universe.
Yes. Nestor, I'm putting together something called the Avengers Initiative. I could definitely use your hearing.
We have this other reindeer. He has a red nose.
I'm gonna cut that some slack, because we don't know how long Mary and Joseph were receiving guests after the birth of Jesus. It could have been for days. So maybe the little drummer boy was there one day, or he got there in the evening, but it wasn't until the next day that Nestor was there first, because I think Nestor helped them get there. But then little drummer boy came along later, and then other people. It could have been days. There's some more specials you could still make.
It had to be days, because they have that whole adventure of little drummer boy saving the bells to announce Jesus' birth. I mean,
which takes place literally at the end of Little Drummer Boy.
Right. So was that like at his bris? Did that take place 8 days after Jesus was born? They rang the bells?
Well, I don't know. I think they had to ring the bells first, and that way, that's how the mohel even knew to go.
Oh, okay. And the mohel says, I have a call. I must go now.
Yeah. I gotta go. I gotta do this in the manger. All right.
I'm glad you guys know the Bible.
It's not very sanitary, but I will do it.
Look, about as sanitary as having a kid in the manger to begin with.
That's true.
I do like, there is one scene in this where Olaf is talking with Joseph and Mary, right? And you see him talking to them, and they're like, we want to buy a donkey from you. And then all of a sudden, it pans to Mary, and she has, like, the heavenly glow around her. And I was like, is this movie for fucking real? Are you doing this right now, movie? We know she's Jesus' mom. You don't have to show us every 2 seconds. This is the mother of Jesus. Like, yeah, we know, movie.
Well, the audience for this is probably a little young.
Also, but they did that again, or before that, when the little cherubim comes down, Brenda Vaccaro, and says, you've got to come do this thing. They do this weird thing where, like, a light shines on Nestor and a light shines, and Tilly says something like, this is what your mom wanted you to do. And then the light shines down on him, and he kind of looks sheepish, and then he's like, he's basically convinced in that moment, okay, whatever you're going to do, I'll do it. I'll do it for mom. Uh-huh. But it's an odd little moment, but they're clearly trying to tie it together thematically that this, we're getting into these larger issues of life, death, the afterlife, faith, trust, belief in supernatural creatures, all of this stuff. The challenge is that Nestor is not a very charismatic character. He almost doesn't have a character. At least the little drummer boy has his anger, if nothing else. And there's not many specials that even acknowledge that kids can be angry or depressed, which is probably why Charlie Brown was so popular, because it's like, yeah, kids have those feelings. And so at least in the short term, we can watch them as long as things sort of turn out okay. Again, it was tough with the little drummer boy because it was just kind of joyless. At least with Charlie Brown, he's depressed, but at the end of his specials, he kind of comes out of it.
I guess I just have a real big issue, and I think the three of us are kind of in agreement. It's a little weird to tackle anything regarding religious Christmas, the religiosity of Christmas, in a stop-motion animated television special. It just, if Rankin and Bass is doing all these other Christmassy Christmas things, capitalist Christmas, then you start trying to address serious in tone actual Christmas, biblical Christmas stories, either real or invented for film, Nestor being an invented character. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
That's why Santa vs. Jesus, the South Park original cartoon, ranks so true, because it's trying to make those two things work, and it just never does. Even though Claus is a saint, it's just, it does not work. It's one or the other. And in this, we've had the one. We've talked about Santa, and we've talked about Rudolph and all that, but you get into the religious stuff, and people just lose their minds, and the stories just, frankly, aren't as entertaining.
Well, and I'm not even sure if in a contemporary time you could make something like this and have it air on a major television channel, because they try to be not non-biblical, but the Christmas stories that they try to tell now are not of the religious factor. I mean, the people who tell those stories, those are the only kind of stories that they're really interested in telling. It's weird that you have Rankin and Bass producing Santa Claus, and then a couple years later, the Little Drummer Boy, a couple years before, the Little Drummer Boy. It's like, boy, those are just, that doesn't mesh at all.
No, but at least they didn't try to inject like Frosty into this story.
the first biblical snowman, and Jesus brought the snowman to life.
That's because Jesus wore that hat, and that hat is like the Shroud of Turin. It's very magical, and then it landed on the snowman's head, and it's the power of Christ that compels him.
Baby Jesus with a top hat on.
Just like fucking Baby New Year. Jesus had these huge ears that he was trying to hide the whole time.
And when he flapped his ears, it made the snow turn into balls that stacked on top of each other. And thus is the beginning of the story of Frosty.
Oh, that's good. I thought it was all about Frosty, like, has to make it to Bethlehem and do something for Jesus before he melts in the desert heat.
Summer!
Yeah, all I can think of is fucking Olaf. That's it. And Mike just quoted Olaf. So we're showing how far we've fallen.
Chris, what is the latest with you, sir?
Oh, man. Just Twitter, casualty_Chris. Culturecast.com is where you can find the movie podcast that I do called The Culturecast. And we did Christmas movies a long time ago, the first year of the podcast. It's been going for 6 years now. We haven't done Christmas movies since, so some point we should revisit them. But it kind of feels like we are now, so maybe I shouldn't. What about you, Mike?
Well, you can find me over at the Projection Booth Podcast, which is available at projectionboothpodcast.com. And Richard, what's happening in your world, sir?
Well, even in the middle of the global pandemic, we are still producing Titans, which can now be seen on HBO Max, Season 1 and Season 2 in their entirety. And the episodes that we're working on now, that will all be Season 3, are being written and filmed, and that will drop in July of 2021.
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We'll be back with another episode all about the adventures of Jack Frost and Frosty the Snowman and that magical hat that Jesus must have worn at one point.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.